Man, you are very good at your job. So
Ah,
you can
seriously,
tell your boss we said that. You are a wealth of information, and I
really.
can tell that you love what you do and love where we live, and that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I do love what I do. I do love the organization that I work for. As you said, I've been here for 27 years. I'm actually not the longest tenured employee at the organization. And so the amazing staff at Scenic Hudson, I'm privileged to work with them. It's really an honor. And
That lack of turnover really says something about the organization and its mission and people, how the way that people feel the ownership of the mission and would not think of going anywhere else.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, in today's day and age, when we're just craving for, just feeling as if we're making a difference, it really does that. And so it has an impact. Our work has a tangible impact on so many people's lives. So it's a privilege to work for the organization. So thank you.
Welcome to the Valley Girls, the weekly podcast where we explore everything there is to see, do, try, eat, and experience in New York's Hudson Valley by talking to the makers, the doers, the growers, the creators, and all the unique voices of the Hudson Valley. We're telling the Hudson Valley's story one episode at a time. I'm Jenny Leifer, a lifelong Hudson Valley resident. When I'm not co-hosting Valley Girls, you'll find me talking all about health and wellness, finding the best gluten-free eats in the Hudson Valley, and giving back to the community through volunteerism and service.
And I'm Jennifer Santiago, a Hudson Valley native who has spent the past 20 years living in Texas. I'm currently splitting my time between Texas and the Hudson Valley as I'm in the process of moving back, and I'm so excited to explore and rediscover everything I love about the region, including hiking, history, and the local arts scene.
Welcome to episode 20 of the Valley Girls. We're so excited you're here to join us for our final episode of our first season. We made it. We are going to take a little break at the end of season 1, but we'll be back for another season in just a few weeks. And if you stay tuned at the end of this episode, we are going to have all the information you need to find out what's coming up in season 2. So enjoy this supersized episode to tide you over until season 2 is here, and make sure to stick around to get all the info at the end of this episode. For now, enjoy episode 20 of Valley Girls. Today, we're talking to Erin Riley from Scenic Hudson. Erin has been with Scenic Hudson since 1997. As Senior Vice President, Erin works directly with the President, the Board of Directors, and others to establish an annual budget for Scenic Hudson and its land trust. And she serves as an advisor to the President in the analysis of opportunities, messaging, outreach strategies, partner relationships, and the development of internal and external communications. In addition, she's responsible for the planning, messaging, outreach, and execution of all Scenic Hudson events. That's just a condensed overview of all you do, Erin, and we are so happy to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's so great. So Scenic Hudson has been around since 1963, I believe. Can you give us an overview of the organization, its mission, its focus?
Sure. And that is correct. 1963. So we were founded more than 60 years ago. Our mission is to sustain and enhance the Hudson Valley's inspirational beauty and health for generations to come. That's the technical mission. And where we got our founding was with the Storm King battle back in 1963. And for those who might not be aware of it, Con Ed at the time wanted to basically carve out the side of iconic Storm King Mountain in the Hudson Highlands. And many people think of Storm King Mountain as sort of the gateway into the Hudson Valley. And so the idea that Storm King would be carving half the side of the mountain to put a power facility into the mountain was just outrageous to so many people. But community members didn't necessarily know how to oppose this. Fortunately, there were 6 local residents who joined forces, and in a 17-year legal battle, actually won and stopped the plant. And on the law books that are studied throughout the nation, that victory is called the Scenic Hudson decision. And what that victory did is it launched what is now known as the modern environmental movement. And it basically gives individual citizens, all of us, the right to get involved in projects that will have a negative impact on the immediate community and the immediate environment. And so those can be projects that will cut off access to the riverfront, projects that are industrial proposals planned in places where they really should not be planned, and other types of ill-sited, ill-fated development projects. So it's a very impressive outcome from a very long battle.
That's so amazing. Not to interrupt you, I want to hear more about Scenic Hudson, but I didn't know any of that. I grew up in Poughkeepsie. I grew up rowing on the river. I was on my high school crew team. Actually, my dad owned a printing company in Poughkeepsie, and he did all of the printing for Scenic Hudson for a long time. I didn't know any of that about the founding or the Storm King battle. That is like an epic story.
It really is. It's truly a David and Goliath story. I mean, these 6 people who came together were just everyday people. I mean, Franny Reese, who was beloved in the Hudson Valley and Poughkeepsie Wappingers community. She was a mother of 5 children at the time, and they tell stories of how they had these letter writing campaigns around her dining room table, and her children to this day would say that they'd be eating dinner on stacks of these letters that were being sent out, and really mobilizing, grassroots mobilizing, and really getting the community to come together. And it allowed lots of communities to come together, in addition to those who were worried about sort of the iconic views of Storm King. It also revealed the threat that sort of the release of all of the water back down, because what they were planning to do was they were planning to take water out of the river to then, feed into the energy production, and then release it back down. And the temperature difference when they would release it back down would actually have been amazingly detrimental to the striped bass fishing industry. And so, the discovery of that as well really, mobilized so many people of so many different interests. It wasn't just about the landscape, but it was about the, ecology of the Hudson River, and how these industrial projects do so much more than just impact what we see, but everything else around us.
That's it's an amazing story. Franny Reese, this scrappy mom saying, "Oh, not on my watch. You are not messing up my river." But I also feel like that grassroots coming together, community mobilization is a very Hudson Valley type of story. Yes. I feel like that's very emblematic of a lot of the vibe of the Hudson Valley, and I love it.
Yeah, it got its birth right here through the Scenic Hudson decision. And the Storm King battle.
That is an incredible story. And I was thinking the same thing, Jen, like that is the epitome of the Hudson Valley right there. Yeah, that is classic Hudson Valley. And that's just beautiful, and had a wonderful, happy ending to the story. And, and here we are with Scenic Hudson now, still fighting the fight and doing all the wonderful things that you do now. It's just wonderful. And all the things that came out of it, like you said, for the residents, for the people to be able to, advocate for these things. So it's just incredible.
Yeah, so many of our state and national policies around this actually came out of the Storm King decision. So it is a really significant little factoid that a lot of people don't know. They just know Storm King today as a great place to hike, or that wonderful mountain that you see as you're going through that area type of thing. But it really has such greater significance than people realize.
Wonderful.
Also, when you were talking about the mission statement, you said inspirational beauty, and I wrote that down in quotation marks because that's such a perfect phrase for the Hudson River and the Hudson Valley. Mm-hmm. So that is quite an origin story. Yeah. So And I feel like every time I'm looking at something, we did an episode about Westchester County recently, and I was looking at some of the riverfront development that's going on there, and it's another Scenic Hudson site. So how many sites are there currently? And the second part of that question is, what are some of the quirkier or the more unique ones? For instance, we did, I think our 5th episode was our Valley Girls takeover in Beacon, and we went to the old hat factory. So it does have walking trails that go along the creek there, but it's got this really unique set of ruins that you can look over into, and some of it is tagged with graffiti, which I happen to love street art. So it's not all just the riverfront walkways.
That's correct. We actually currently have 45 parks that we call our own at this point. However, in addition to those, we've enhanced and or worked with communities on over 24 more. So, in our whole repertoire on our website, there's more than just the 45 that we talk about today. And, our goal isn't just to always own this land. There are lots of places like the waterfronts that you mentioned in Westchester where we work with the local community. And once Scenic Hudson has protected the land and sometimes helped with the park development, we turn it over to the municipality and it becomes part of their park system. So, we love relationships like that. We work with state parks a lot from that perspective. Sojourner Truth State Park that we just did in Kingston.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. It's one of my favorites too. We protected the land and then we sold it to New York State, and it's now a New York State park. And it is, it's still currently managed by us, but eventually the state under the Palisades Interstate Parks Commission will take over the active day-to-day management of that. So the 45 that I talk about are the 45 that, we still own and that we actively manage. Our first park that we ever opened was in 1980, and it's this little teeny tiny park called Lighthouse Park on the Esopus waterfront. And we no longer own it, but it just shows how, if you think about the contrast of Lighthouse Park and how small it is to Sojourner Truth State Park, it doesn't have to be this huge sweeping landscape. As you said, there's reasons for why we protect these properties. In Esopus, that was a critical access point for people to be able to, have kayak launches, have boat access, that type of thing. And so it provided that resource to connect people to the Hudson River. And so even though it's not one of our biggest ones, we are still quite proud of that one. And as I said, we don't own it anymore. The town does own it, but it's still a nice story to tell. So in terms of some of the sort of unknown treasures, I like to think of it as an unknown treasure in each of our locations. And there really are those types of things. As you said, at Madam Brett Park in Beacon, there's the big old factories, which we actually don't own, but they're a lovely backdrop, particularly to that boardwalk, and people do really enjoy discovering them. At Sojourner Truth State Park, as I was just talking about, we have the industrial ruins of what used to be the former 9 cement silos that we removed. There were these 9 140-foot tall cement silos that were located right in the park. We removed them as part of our reclamation of the site, but we left the rings at the very base of the site so that when people are on the site, they can truly appreciate and understand the magnitude of the industrial facility that was there. But then also further along in the park, down on the Empire State Trail, which runs through the park, there's the remains, the brick building that was once the historic mule barn. And then further down in East Kingston, because the park actually spans both Kingston and East Kingston. In the East Kingston section, where you can entrance the Empire State Trail from, the old smokestack is still standing there. And so, when you explore Scenic Hudson parks, you find these hidden gems in the most interesting places. And even for me, there are some times where I will come around a bend, and I've been in that park so many times, but something about the light or the way that it's so quiet at that certain time or something, I'm just incredibly struck by it. And so I really love exploring our parks to find those oh wow moments
Yeah, and the seasonal changes in the flora too. I always had this idea that I'm going to pick a favorite park and I'm going to go every month of the year and take pictures and show how it changes. I haven't done that, and I'm not a good photographer, but if somebody wants to do that, please do.
Nope, we can do that better for you. So if you go to Esopus Meadows
Uh-huh.
in Esopus, we have the Phenology Trail, and it does exactly that. And it's a
Nice.
really great place for families to visit. It's completely accessible from that perspective. The trail, it's not really a challenging trail from that perspective. And you can actually monitor exactly that. You can monitor the surroundings from a seasonal perspective and see how it changes. And then another interesting thing is that Esopus Meadows Preserve, the meadows are actually underwater. And so sometimes when people come there, they're like, well, where are the meadows? And it's like, well, a lot of the waterfront property that we own as a result of sea level rise and other things, part of the landscape is now under the water where it previously was. So historically there were these, grand meadows, but now it's just, again, another one of these little great parks.
Wow. Well, a few things. I love when you were talking about the old smokestacks and the old hat factory ruins. I love that juxtaposition of the industrial past and the scenic natural beauty. I think that's a unique feature of some of the sites that Scenic Hudson has. Also, you mentioned the Scenic Hudson website, which we'll link to, but it's scenichudson.org. It's a great resource. I feel like there's a great little write up on each of the sites, so it can really help you plan a great trip. And then, so I love the quirky ones. I love those little aha moments at all of them. But of the 45 parks, are there any that you feel like, gosh, people must not know about this one? Like the whole thing is a hidden gem because it's really under visited compared to some of the others.
Yeah, there are two that definitely come to mind. One is Ramshorn Livingston Marsh Sanctuary, and it's one of our further north on the west side of the river. And we actually co-own it with New York Audubon. And so if you're really into bird watching,
birding,
this
yes.
is a really great location. It actually has an observation tower that overlooks the fields and the marsh. And it is a really nice place to sort of just hang out. Go bring your binoculars, pack yourself a little lunch or something. But it is a well-kept secret, in spite of the fact that it is such a great bird watching place.
I am a bird nerd and I'm not especially knowledgeable, but I'm an aspiring bird watcher. And I would love to interview somebody on our next season about birding in the Hudson Valley. So if you have a recommendation of a great person to talk to about that, let us know.
We can absolutely connect you, but also I believe they probably just started, but Audubon is doing at that site specifically this summer some walks and guided bird walks, those types of things. So we will be promoting those on our website under the events section. So you can check it out and you can go experience one of those on a guided walk if you'd like.
Love that. What was your other one?
The other one is also in the Esopus area. We have a lot of parks in the Esopus area as well as in Beacon and Cold Spring area. But High Banks Preserve in Esopus, it's just up it's on River Road and it's just up the road from Esopus Meadows. But people don't really pay much attention to it. And while it has a pretty good incline to first get up to the high bank, again, it's accessible to people who can do trail walking. But once you get up there, you're up on the banks of the Hudson from that perspective, and it really is spectacular. There's even a boardwalk, 110-foot boardwalk that that takes you through a wetlands so that people
Ooh.
can really be understanding. And then the trail connects you and brings you down to Esopus Lakes, which people don't ever really get to understand where Esopus Lakes is. And, we sort of drive past it every day on 9W if you're going, south or north to Kingston. And it's sort of across the street on 9W from Iron Mountain Storage
Oh,
Facility.
wow. Yeah.
But
Okay.
you never really understand the magnitude of Esopus Lakes
I had no idea.
until you're seeing it from the High Banks Preserve side. So the trail will take you all the way down there. And that's just really a fun discovery. You sort of, every time I go there with people, they're like, where are we? And I'm like, 9W is exactly that way. And it's
Wild.
just, you get completely lost in the forest there.
So you mentioned accessible trails. I know Jenny has a bunch of questions about that, but I have to interject here because I'm laughing a little bit. I never followed up on this on the podcast, but several episodes ago, we talked to Alexa Tumbarello from the Catskills Visitor Center. And as she was talking about the Esopus, she said something Esopus
Oh,
or
yes.
Esopus, however you want to pronounce it. And I was like, sorry, what? So apparently it's some people have started to say Esopus, and this sent me down a rabbit hole because I don't know if you remember, but when I was much younger, I grew up in Dutchess County, and the town was always called Mahopac. And then at some point, like in the 90s, everyone was like, no, it's Mahopac. That's like the indigenous original pronunciation of it. So I was very upset. My mom grew up in Port Ewan. We've been going through Esopus my whole life. I was like, I have never heard Esopus. I need to know if that's just a mispronunciation or if that is like the original way it's supposed to be pronounced from like the indigenous people who lived here. I actually called the Esopus Historical Society and talked to them about it. And he said, no, it's Esopus. Esopus is just a mispronunciation that it's kind of caught on. So anyway, for anybody else who is probably zero people who, like me, lost sleep over whether they'd been saying Esopus wrong for 30 years, you have not. It is Esopus. You heard it here.
I am more shook than calling it Esopus that it is not the indigenous way of saying it. I would have put money down that it must be the original way of saying it, right?
Yeah, I would, when you said that, I thought, well, that makes sense, doesn't it? It's really interesting though, because we actually are very fortunate at Scenic Hudson. We work with a really great language justice consultant.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So she's been helping us really understand, where exactly the land that we've been protecting and where we have all these parks on, so that we really understand the land history and can do a proper land acknowledgement statement. And
we want to interview her. I would love to have her on an episode.
I saw you writing down as soon as
like,
she said
yeah.
that. I knew I saw that.
That would be, I would love to connect you with her, but I would have been very surprised if it wasn't Esopus, because she's so good at correcting us on things and letting us know those types of things that I was going to have to go back to her and say, Maria Jose, how could you be letting us say this wrong all of these years? So
well, I feel so much better having cleared that up, honestly.
Well,
yeah.
and now I am going to be rightfully correcting people when they're like, it's Esopus. And I can say, actually, it's not.
It's not. Yes.
It's not. It is officially Esopus.
Yeah, I grew up outside of the Capital District, and there's so many places up there that people mispronounce.
Yes.
And I always laugh. One of my colleagues, he's from that area as well, and we just chuckle all the time when we hear people, say things incorrectly. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, you clearly did not grow up around here. So
yeah. Well, and then it's like, depending on where you are, there's towns that it's pronounced one way, one place and one way. And it's different when it's like an indigenous word or name. But, even like we always knew of Newark, New Jersey. And now my son goes to school in Delaware. So we were calling it Newark, Delaware. And we were like very quickly corrected.
yeah.
It's Newark, Delaware.
I don't like it.
I know. It's Newark, and the what is it, Delawareans? I don't know what they're called. I need correction on that probably. They are very offended if you call it Newark. It's a thing. Yes. So anyway, total tangent that you brought us down, but you know what? I am so
I
glad
think
we
I
cleared that
brought
up.
us down the tangent, but
Yes,
Quite
that's what I
all
mean.
right.
You did. You
okay.
did. Yes. Yes. That Jen brought us down the tangent, but I am so glad that we cleared that up because
Yeah.
now I will correct anyone who says Esopus now.
And hopefully some people will learn some things from us.
That's
Exactly.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting back to, I actually, you mentioned something about accessibility and I wanted to ask you about that. So I myself have some mobility concerns and some physical disabilities. Probably, I know we knew each other from years back. But you know, since then I have had some disability issues. I've had multiple surgeries and talked about it a few times on the show. So some of our listeners are aware of that. Um, what are your recommendations for accessible park trails and facilities for those who have physical challenge and disabilities? I was a very big hiker and, you know, I love exploring new trails and I used to do the fire towers and I was really trying to get to all the fire towers and I unfortunately had not gone to all of them when we had, as she just mentioned, Alexa Tamburello, another Alexa plug there, when we had talked about all of the fire towers and she said that there was one actually at the visitor center that is accessible that you can get to if you have mobility issues. So I was very excited to hear that. And she also brought up other trails that they are really trying to make more accessible, like the rail trails and things like that. So what are your recommendations for Scenic Hudson accessible park trails and facilities?
Yeah, there's a couple that come to mind right off the bat, and it sounded as if you'd been there previously when I mentioned it, but Sojourner Truth State Park.
Yes, yes.
And so, as I said, the Empire State Trail does run right through Sojourner
Mm-hmm.
Truth State Park. And so, particularly if you enter from the John Street entrance in East Kingston, that is a pretty accessible trail that brings you in because it is that section of the Empire State Trail. And then the trail connector that we just created with the state to bring people down to the riverfront, that is an ADA compliant trail.
Wonderful.
And then when you get down to the platform, there's a 2,000 square foot shaded seating area that does have picnic tables. It has bilingual signage and those types of things. So that is something that somebody with in your shape could probably access quite easily. In addition, Long Dock Park. So there are many aspects of Long Dock Park that have
Beacon?
Yes, in Beacon.
Okay.
It is the
Mhm.
waterfront park in Beacon. And it is, it has similar access points, similar shaded picnic areas, bring you right down to the riverfront there. And so that's always a great opportunity for people. We also have West Point Foundry Preserve that has it has audio tours, one bilingual as well. And that too has shaded picnic areas, some seating areas, and what we like to call the central spine of West Point Foundry Preserve. When you go down the central spine, which is accessible, it allows people to really explore the historic ruins of the former buildings that were there, as well as some of the interpretive features that we've done at the park so that people really understand the industrial facility that used to operate there. And an interesting point, West Point Foundry Preserve is actually a National Historic Landmark
Wow.
because of the ironworks, and it was integral in the Civil War, and obviously right across from West Point Academy. So another great location for people to visit, a hidden gem sometimes. So yeah.
Oh, those are all fantastic. Jen, do you remember when we took pictures of the treats that we got from, do you
I was
remember
gonna
that?
say we went to
Yeah.
Sojourner Truth Park and ate all of the cookies. So on a much earlier episode, we talked to I think she was episode 2, Enrica Martin,
Yeah.
who is a baker in Kingston, who was on a Food Network show last summer, and we went and met her in person, and she gave us a bunch of cookies and goodies, and we couldn't wait until we got home. So we pulled into the parking lot and I was like, all right, we have to take a picture before we dig into these. And so we did a photo shoot on a rock at the entrance.
Oh, that's
To the
fantastic.
trail. Yeah. I was like trying to show her. I was like, oh my God, we got this new great park. And I told her all about it. And I was like, wait, but if we're gonna really eat these before we go walking, we have to take a picture so that she can see that we are displaying. It was so funny. So, there's all this natural beauty around us, which
Yeah.
of course we took pictures of as well. But before anything, we took pictures of cookies on a rock. So yeah,
Well, they're
that's the
hiking
Valley
past
Girls for
us,
you.
and I'm like, yes, we are doing a photo shoot with our cookies. And they're like,
Exactly.
Are looking
good
at
for
us like
you.
behind us is the beautiful Hudson River,
And here
and
we
here's
are with our cookie
yeah,
priorities. Priorities,
yes,
priorities. Yeah.
yes, this is the Valley Girls for you. Thank you very
Well, I'm
much.
going to bring it full circle for you here. And we actually used her. We had our big fundraising annual gala at Sojourner Truth State Park earlier in June. And we actually hired her to do the dessert for us. And so she created these most adorable cakes in a jar. She
Yes,
did.
I love her. Yep,
We
we
had
got some
those
of those.
too.
She
They're in
did.
the picture.
Yeah, she did 300 of them for us, 3 different
Wow.
flavors.
Oh, I think I
And
saw that picture. That's right.
yeah, so people, and it was set up under the pavilion that I was just talking about. And so people were able to get their jar and, their cake in a jar and be eating it right at the river's edge at the end of our gala. So I was on your website and I was looking at some of the past episodes. And so when I saw that she was one of your first ones, I started to laugh and I said, oh, great, we're going to come full circle on that
Yep.
now.
Her food is so delicious. If you're listening and you're like, what? I want a cake in a jar. It's D Sweet Spot. It's DI Sweet
Yep.
Spot. And her name is Enrica Martin. You can go follow her on Instagram. We'll link to her. But when she came to your event, Erin, did she bring the little trailer? She's got the cutest little pop-up trailer that looks like a little cottage. It's so
Yeah,
cute.
she didn't bring that, but I am aware of that, and she travels around. And so if you do follow
Mhm.
her on Instagram, you can find out where she's doing a pop-up shop.
Yep.
And
Yeah, she
throughout
does.
the area.
Yeah, she does pop up breakfast sometimes on Saturdays, and
Yeah, she's
she's
got some
just
savory stuff, some
yep.
quiches and scones.
She
Yeah.
does.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
she's just the biggest sweetheart in the world. So
she's great.
she's a
so
great
sweet.
person to boot.
Yeah, we were thrilled. We always love to be able to, because we move around for this event, and we always love to be able to feature local
Mhm.
products so that people who are coming to the event aren't necessarily from that immediate area, and just sort of to give them a literal flavor of the community that they're in. And so that just became a no-brainer. Plus with the, I'm a Food Network junkie myself. So
Yes.
that just sort of just really brought it all home for me.
That is so great.
Well,
See,
this is now an Enrica Martin appreciation podcast. The end.
it really
I
is.
am
And
happy
then
to have it be that.
we
Happy
had
to
her
have it.
back on when we did our home show. She was back on in that episode as well. So yeah, this really truly is an Enrica appreciation podcast. So
Always happy to build up other women around us who are
I
doing
love
great
it.
things.
I love it.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
So, not at all to suggest that Scenic Hudson has not done a huge amount of amazing work in the Hudson Valley, but what's next? Are there more plans in the works? Are there going to be new sites coming available? What's your plan for the future?
Yeah, so at the moment, we're just really looking at ways to make all of our parks as inclusive and accessible as possible. And so we really want to make sure that every resident of the Hudson Valley feels welcome at all of our parks. And so we've been really focused on that for the last couple of years. And some of that, as I was saying, is through some of our language justice work and really understanding the true history of the land, because even though we own it, it's not really our land. And so we just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, by acknowledging, how the land came to be and what its history is. We're also looking at ways through our materials at our parks, through our signage. We've really started introducing, as I was saying, bilingual signage in all of our parks, so that again, everybody who comes there really can feel that they're welcome. And we actually have a pilot project that we're doing at Poets Walk Park right now with our kiosk. Yeah, so we're doing some experimenting with the kiosk there, which will then inform the kiosks at other locations. And again, really just trying to understand how to make it as accessible and inclusive for everybody who's coming to the park. and not just the community members who might feel that this is their own, community park. We certainly want everybody to feel that they can come there. So, at the moment, that's sort of what we're focused on, our biggest emphasis in terms of our parks. And then, of course, maintaining them. That is a huge thing for us. And, we do have a really fantastic parks team that works really hard to maintain our parks, but with 45 of them spread throughout the entire Hudson Valley, it's a lot of management responsibilities. And so we want to make sure that they're always up to snuff and that people really enjoy visiting them. And so really focusing our efforts on the management and stewardship of those properties too. So
Yeah, and one of the questions that I was actually going to get to later, but this brings up the question, can Hudson Valley residents get involved in Scenic Hudson in that way? I know there's a lot of ways that you have, that people can get involved in efforts to protect our beautiful Hudson Valley. I believe that you always had this before, is volunteering is one way that they can get involved. You have other projects as well, such as Defend the Valley, and of course monetary contributions as well. But so can you talk a little bit about how Hudson Valley residents can get involved?
sure. I mean, monetary contributions are always great, but as you said, there are other ways for people to get involved, which are equally valuable to us. One of the really important ones, as I just was saying, it's hard for us to be in all spots at all times. We do have some, some community residents who frequent our parks almost daily, if not that, and we sort of call them an informal park patrol. And it's just really helpful because people who go to these spots all the time, they know when something's out of place. They know when, a tree has fallen and it's blocking or creating a potential hazard. And so, really being able to understand that information and have access to exactly where on the trail did they find that, just enables our team to, deploy itself to that spot as quickly as possible, so that we can, deal with it. We also have, just opportunities for people to join on a volunteer work day and help build a trail or help fix, a part of a trail that's been, eroded. We certainly all know from our own backyards that invasives and, the constant keeping up with the landscape is overwhelming on any given day. And so, it really is quite rewarding when you bring together even a small group of people to work to clear a view that had grown in. And, sort of at the end of the day, when they finish, they all stand back and you literally get to see the impact of the collective work. And so we have volunteer work days at many of our parks throughout the region all the time as well. We
Work
also,
day is a great idea because there may be people who are like, I want to get involved, but I have such limited time. If you can just carve out one day, once a
yeah,
season or
Yeah.
once a year, then you can still have a really big impact. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, we also have some really fun projects that are great for families as well. And we refer to them as our community science assistants. And one of the things that community members can get involved with every spring is eel monitoring. And so it's monitoring the glass eels in the Black Creek, and they can do this right at our Black Creek site. And it's you get down in the creek in your waders and you catch these little tiny glass eels, and they count them. And one of the ways we work closely with DEC on this, and one of the ways that they're able to monitor the quality of the habitats is by how many eels they're finding, because these eels, it's the most fascinating story. The distance that they migrate each season for these little tiny glass eels, it's absolutely crazy. So we go into the creek daily from March through May, and we monitor the migration of the glass eels, counting them, and then they're able to compare the data from, previous years to this year and really get an understanding. So first of all, what person doesn't love putting on waders and getting down into
Absolutely.
a creek? And then, so it's really a lot of fun from that perspective too.
If you don't have an eel mascot whose name is Elliot, then you are really missing an opportunity.
Jen's our marketer here.
All right, great. I will definitely
Elliot. I love
Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Yeah.
And Black Creek is absolutely a how can I say, it's definitely a memory for me. It's very nostalgic for me. This is where I brought my twins, who are just 20. Happy birthday, Micah and Nava. Today is their 20th birthday,
guys. I remember you guys going to Black Creek all the time.
I mean, that was their childhood. We lived at Black Creek when they were little. So it's wild to, to be here talking about it today.
Did you know there were eels?
I had no idea.
I didn't know
that there were eels. No idea.
It's crazy. Well, Black Creek is one of those aha moments for me. That suspension bridge never gets old. Every single time I visit the site,
we take a picture every single time we're there.
Yep.
It's just beautiful.
And interestingly enough, Hudson House Distillery, just a little bit south. They love it so much that they've made it the label of one of their.
I saw that. It's so beautiful. I got so excited when I saw that. I love it.
Yeah. And when you were asking what's to come, Black Creek will actually have an enhanced waterfront feature up above where the former little campy residences used to be. So we own that. And what we're doing is we're creating a nice little bluff area out at the very end there. So that is currently under construction. And so we're hoping later this fall to be able to have the opening of that. So not a brand new park, but an enhanced area of an existing park. So
that is exciting. So in addition to creating and enhancing the beautiful parks and preserves, can you talk about some of the other incredible work that Scenic Hudson does? For example, Defend the Valley, if you could just speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, we've been talking a lot about our parks today, which is always fun. Scenic Hudson has multiple other programs. One of our programs is our advocacy program. And again, if we think back to the beginning of our conversation and mobilizing and engaging communities and citizens to get involved, Defend the Valley is our opportunity for us to really inform and engage those community members. And so the majority of our advocacy campaigns are identified on Defend the Valley, and people can sign up and become Valley defenders. And these campaigns involve everything from protecting land, fighting for clean water, finding climate solutions, really everything that impacts our current day-to-day. And some people don't want to be as involved as others. Others really want to get involved, come to various events with us. We also identify and promote on that site events that might not be ours, but are a common theme, so that people who are really interested in sort of digging in and becoming, experts on the specific subject matter. So if people want to become a Valley Defender, they can go to Defend the Valley section of our website, and they can sign up, and you can sign up based on which campaign you're most interested in. If you're interested, in something related to the upcoming Farm Bill, that's been in Washington, D.C. in Congress for quite some time and hasn't passed yet. People can get involved in that. So it's a really great resource for people.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'm also happy to talk about some of our other work as well.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so our River Cities program, which we've been talking a lot about, the sort of the more rural landscapes and the larger park sections that we've got throughout the valley. Our River Cities program actually focuses on 3 of our sort of mid-valley cities. It focuses on Kingston, Poughkeepsie, and Newburgh. And so what we're doing in each of those cities is working with community organizations, local residents, the administrations of those locations to just really help the residents in those areas have a greater connection to the natural resources in those city proper. There are so many natural resources that people have absolutely no idea exist. The Fallkill Creek that runs throughout the north side of Poughkeepsie, people have, people go past it all the time and don't realize that it's actually there. The same for the Quasaya Creek in Newburgh. I mean, you'd be surprised when we say to people, there's a creek over there, and you literally have to bring them over to look down the edge into the creek. So really trying to have people understand what these natural resources are. We've also done a lot in terms of what we like to call these trail connector pieces in these cities where, if you think about, we have these really great rail trail systems in the outer edges. Well, how can we also start to bring those in and connect the city as well? Because so many people who live within these cities don't necessarily have access to vehicle transportation. And so they depend on bicycles, or kids, walking to from schools. And so how can we really utilize these, what were the former railroad beds, and turn them into these sort of connecting trails? We've also, in both Poughkeepsie and Newburgh, created urban farms, and the urban farms feed the immediate community members there. And if people love to garden, but they don't have their own garden at their home, they can actually become a farmhand for us at the Pershing Avenue Park and Farm, which is located in Poughkeepsie, and help volunteer there in terms of taking care of the farm. We're always looking for extra hands there as well. So lots of really great opportunities in some of our other locations.
Just incredible how expansive the work of Scenic Hudson really truly is. And I knew that it was more than just the parks. And I think a lot of people here, they kind of say, oh yeah, I was on a trail and you see the Scenic Hudson sign there. But I don't think a lot of people know, just how much Scenic Hudson does for this region. It's really just incredible.
Yeah.
It really is. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. We've protected over 52,000 acres throughout the entire region, and that includes protecting 140 family farms. And as we all know, the family farms are such a part of the fabric of this Hudson Valley region. And particularly these days, with all of the focus on, food access and food security, really being able to have those local farms, our farm markets, our farm stands, people being able to have access to those is so key. And many of these farms, generational farms, can't stand up to developmental pressures and the potential, money that they could get from selling to a developer. And so that's where Scenic Hudson can really play a role in helping to conserve the family farms. So
That's
we're
huge.
proud of that work too.
It really is. And how do you get funded? I mean, obviously there's, like we said, the contributions, but what is the base of the Scenic Hudson funding?
The contributions.
It's
Wow.
all contributions.
We are very fortunate that many years ago we were the beneficiary of the Reader's Digest Air, one of their endowments.
Oh.
But that only funds a portion of our work, and that actually is restricted specifically for our land conservation and park development work. All of our advocacy work, our River Cities work, and to this day, because of how large we are and how much work we do on an annual basis, even that endowment is not enough to fund our land conservation and parks work. And so we do rely on private contributions, individual contributions, foundation contributions. We have some really great corporate sponsors. Sometimes we're able to get some, government money as well, which is always very welcome. So it is really how we survive. So even though the parks are free,
incredible.
they're not free for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have
Incredible.
3 things. So first of all, I was being a dork when I was talking about Eliot, but then I kind of fell in love with the idea of Eliot, and I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna give him a sister called Ela. So I'm gonna write a children's book about the eels of the Black
I
Creek
love
Preserve,
this.
and it will be a fundraiser for Scenic Hudson. I don't
Well-
know how to do a children's book, but I'm going to figure it out because we have talked about Valley Girls Media expanding into
For
book
sure.
publishing.
She's
So
serious.
this could be our first book, and all the proceeds of it will be donated to Scenic Hudson. So
Great. Well, I'm going to tell you how to do it. So the new coffee shop that just opened in Uptown Kingston, the name is completely escaping me, but it's across the street. It's like near Wells Fargo Bank, across the street from the county building there, I believe it is. So I'll find out the name and I'll get back to you. But I believe they have an upcoming workshop on how to write a children's book. So you could go get a cup of coffee there, explore that new shop, and you could take the workshop, and then you can figure it out.
Oh, Fair Street, Kingston Social.
Kingston Social. That's exactly
That's the one.
it. Yes. Yep.
Kingston Social.
Kingston
I got to check
Social.
that out. I haven't been there yet.
that's awesome.
And it's very cool because it's in on Google as an art cafe.
Nice.
Yes, that is.
So I got to check that out.
That
All right,
is-
cool. I love it.
I know how to write it, but I'm going to need an artist because that I am not.
Oh, I have a children's book illustrator that I'm friends with.
Well,
So
Okay,
Great.
call her. Okay.
she would do this in a heartbeat.
If you go on to our website and, search on eel monitoring,
Okay.
you can see all about it. You can even watch a video about the eel monitoring, and then you can get really excited and participate in eel monitoring next spring. And there you'll be up
Okay.
to speed.
All right. So we'll try to have it out in time for eel monitoring season next spring.
That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's true. So also, I don't know if we even told you this, Erin, but you are our grand finale of season 1. You are our episode
Ta-da!
20, and we could not have had a better guest to end with. This has been
Perfect.
so much fun. We are obsessed with the river and the parks, and I am learning so much from talking to you. And I feel like it's one of those things where, like, I grew up in Poughkeepsie, spent a lot of time in Kingston, Port Ewan, and I feel like I know the area. And then we talked to somebody like you, and I'm like, I had no idea that was there. I never heard of this place in Esopus. I didn't know that about West Point. And so this has been super, super fun. Also, I also don't think we told you ahead of time that, like, once you come on Valley Girls, you're never getting away from us. Like, you're our
Excellent.
friend now forever.
Love that.
You're
Once
officially
you're
a Valley
in,
girl.
you don't get
so.
out. So
Excellent.
but before we let you go, what are some of your personal Hudson Valley favorites, your greatest hits? It could be anything. It could be your favorite pizza place or a bookshop or a coffee shop. And I won't ask you for your favorite park because that's like asking Jenny which of her kids she likes best. So
Yeah, I would be hard pressed to tell you my favorite park. There are definitely ones I go to more often than not, but I'd be hard pressed to say my favorite park. I've been really enjoying lately, even more than previous years, riding the rail trails around here. They're really spectacular resources. I just did actually the Green Line, the linear trail right here that goes through Kingston. I did that for the first time the other morning, and I'm embarrassed to say that it was my first time because it's literally my backyard and it connects right to, Scenic Hudson Sojourner Truth State Park. So, I will probably get demerits for having not ridden it previously, but it brings you through these really cool places that many people, again, it's sort of like until you're down on that trail, you don't experience the city from that perspective. So it's just, I've been enjoying those. I'm loving the new connector from Uptown Kingston by the Super 8 up to the Hurley Trail. That
We love that now.
Yeah,
Yeah. My husband and stepson have been doing that a lot. My dad, they're like, we're going to go get a slice of pizza. We live in Hurley. I'm like, what do you mean you're going to go get a slice of pizza? They take the Hurley Rail Trail over by the Super 8, cross the street, and then go down to the plaza and get a slice of pizza. I'm like, it's wild.
Yeah,
I love it.
And when I first moved to Kingston, that section hadn't been developed, and it was the most difficult way and dangerous way to get out to the
Yes.
Hurley Rail Trail on your bike. And now that is just such a breeze. And of course, I love biking the trail out at the Ashokan Reservoir. There's nothing like that. I did that a couple of weeks ago for the first time this season and was just reminded of that. One of my friends, Jess Davis, who's the vice president of the Ulster Chamber.
Friends with Jess, yes.
We're biking trail buddies. And so, we keep talking about, where we want to bike to next. And so one of our big things is, there either needs to be, depending on what time of day we go there, we want to bike to a destination that we then literally arrive at the end of, and there's either a beer waiting for us that then we can turn around and come back, or there's an iced coffee or something like that. So we're going to start exploring from that perspective. Have those destinations. It's more than just it's more than just the bike ride. It's what's it bringing you to,
right?
How can you explore from that perspective? So yeah, I'd have to say that right now in where I am at in my headspace, my favorite spots, my favorite places, my favorite things to do in the Hudson Valley right now would be exploring the rail trails.
Love it.
Bike. Yeah.
We need to get Enrica to do a pop-up with her trailer at one of the ends of the rail trail. She can have iced tea and iced coffee, and she can have scones and cookies. That would be elite. All right, we'll call.
I mean, I have not biked in years. That would get me back on the bike.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that right now.
We do this farmland we do a farmland cycling tour from Poets Walk Park each September, and people can choose to go on a 10-mile ride, a 25-mile ride, or a 40-mile ride, and you actually bike through farmland that Scenic Hudson has protected in Dutchess and Columbia counties. We get apple cider donuts both at the beginning for people to get when they're getting ready to go out on the rides, and then we have them at all of the aid stations throughout. I have never seen people consume so many apple cider donuts as when they are on
because you've never gotten apple cider donuts with me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have a bike, you should come out and do one of these rides just for the apple cider donuts. I'm always in awe of how many apple cider.
Nothing motivates people like food.
So Jenny, why don't you get Matt to rig up a double sidecar for his bicycle? And then he can do the 40-mile ride, and we can sit in the sidecars and just
as long as there's some gluten-free donuts in it for me.
Eat the apple cider donuts. I mean, come on, that is a gig, and you'll be pedaled past all of this beautiful farmland, incredible views. That sounds like a fantastic.
I'm in.
I am into that. I am very into that.
Yeah, and then we always have a big picnic lunch back at the park after everybody's completed the ride. So you come back, there's music. It's a great event, and so
See, Jen, this is like when you say like I'm outsidesy but not outdoorsy. This is the kind of outdoorsy you can get into.
Yeah.
This is good. I like this.
If somebody else is pedaling and I'm just getting the view, that's perfect for me.
Oh my God, I love it.
And the donuts.
And the donut. Well, Erin, just a huge thanks to you. This has been so fun and educational. And I really can't thank you enough. I can't thank Scenic Hudson enough for just making this region the very best place to live. And we will definitely be exploring more and getting the word out about all these incredible things. And as Jen mentioned, this is the last episode of season 1. Woo!
Well, I'm honored. Thank you.
So thank you for being our season finale. Thanks so much, Erin.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So fun.
Wow, that was really fun. What a great way to wrap up an incredible season.
Yeah, Erin is awesome.
She really is. And I think that you were so right when you said that she is not only so good at her job, which she really is, but you can just tell how much she loves her job and loves the organization that she works for. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Just what a great organization.
Yeah, we love Scenic Hudson too.
We really do. And they have so many great resources. We will make sure to get all the resources, all the links to everything we talked about. You can always check out scenichudson.org, but we will try to get everything that we can from the episode in our episodes page. So be sure to check out valleygirlspodcast.com/episodes to get all the links to everything we were talking about during our little mini Valley Girls vacation, during our little break the next few weeks. Be sure to take advantage of our beautiful region and check out those trails, go for some hikes, some walks. Just enjoy the beautiful scenery, and then we will be back in just a few short weeks with some exciting stuff coming up in season 2.
Yeah, go outside and play, but hopefully you'll miss us. We'll miss you, and we're already hard at work on season 2. So we will be back on August 15th with a preview episode where we'll tell you a lot more about the changes that are coming for season 2. But a little sneak peek at that, we are going to be bi-weekly as a podcast, but we'll have lots more video content that we'll be adding on the Valley Girls YouTube site. So we'll keep you informed of everything that's going on. We're going to also add a couple of new segments and some new friends to the podcast so that we can better span the entire Hudson Valley. We'll have more content focused on the Capital District and on Westchester and the river towns.
And hint, hint, you've met both of these amazing women before. You'll have to tune in to see who they are.
Backed by popular demand. You'll hear from them on the preview episode on the 15th. And a little teaser for my special baby pet project. We are doing our very first spin-off. It is called Literary Hudson Valley. It's going to be a YouTube show, and we'll have 3 or 4 episodes out by the time we come back with season 2. And I will tell you much more about that, but we're going to be talking all things literature, writers, authors, books, bookshops, everything to do with the Hudson Valley for my fellow book nerds.
If anybody has ever tuned in to even just one episode of Valley Girls, you know how much of a book nerd our lovely Jennifer is, and you do not want to miss these. These are such great episodes. So definitely tune in to Literary Hudson Valley. They are fantastic.
And then we'll be back with our very first episode of season 2 on August 22nd.
So we will be back again. The preview episode for season 2 will be August 15th. Our first full episode will be August 22nd. But to be sure that you do not miss a beat, make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe on all of the platforms. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on the podcast platforms. You can also go to the website. There's a tab for Valley Girls Pod Squad. Make sure you sign up for the Pod Squad. We do not send out a lot of information. We do not send out stuff frequently, but for big stuff like this, for the updates for season 2, make sure you don't miss anything. Sign up for our Valley Girls Pod Squad and on the podcast platforms.
Thank you so much for being part of our podcasting adventure for these 20 episodes of season 1. We've got so much more in store for you. We appreciate all of your support, and we can't wait to come back with even more great stuff for you.
Thank you all so much. This has been such an adventure. We are so excited to continue the adventure, continue the journey, and we can't do it without you guys. So thank you for your support, and look forward to seeing you guys in season 2. Have a great couple of weeks. Enjoy the summer. Bye for now. Thank you to all our listeners. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to help support the Valley Girls, please follow our podcast from our show page on whichever platform you listen from. Leave a rating and review, and please spread the word and share our podcast with others. We really appreciate your support. To stay up to date with the Valley Girls and for more content, you can find us at valleygirlspodcast.com, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Links to all our social media accounts are in the show notes. And you can also connect to them through our homepage at valleygirlspodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
The music for this episode is by Robert Burke Warren, entitled Painting a Vast Blue Sky, and can be found on his album Redheaded Friend, available on iTunes and Spotify, and at the link in the show notes.